Today, we're diving into a really fascinating question. Why are we, as humans, so drawn to a good challenge? Why do we trade total comfort for the thrill of the unknown? And as you'll see, it turns out that impulse is directly connected to our most ancient survival instincts. It's a funny thing when you think about it, right? We spend so much of our lives trying to be comfortable, secure, and predictable, and yet we'll intentionally go looking for the exact opposite: a hard trail, a cold night, a real challenge. So why do we choose discomfort? Well, there's a new name for an old idea that really helps explain this, and that name is a microadventure. Adventurer Alistair Humphreys came up with the term to describe something really specific: a deliberate, short adventure, usually overnight, out in nature. It's like taking the whole spirit of a huge expedition and shrinking it down to fit into our hectic, modern lives. And that, right there, is the magic of it. This isn't about needing a ton of time or money to go climb Mount Everest. It's about realizing that adventure isn't some far-off fantasy. It's something you can literally find right in your own backyard. Just think about it for a second. You could leave work on a Friday, go sleep under the stars on a local hill, and be back in time for brunch on Saturday. This whole format makes adventure accessible to, as one researcher put it, normal people with normal lives. It's basically adventure for everyone. So what is it about these little adventures that makes them so powerful? Well, luckily for us, some great research has been done on what microadventurers actually experience, and it gives us a fantastic breakdown of what's really going on. A researcher named Robert Young found 5 key themes that kept popping up. He found that microadventures are seen as playful, they have clear benefits and costs, they are deliberately constrained, they're dynamic, and for a lot of people, they become a huge part of their identity. Now, for what we're talking about today, 2 of those are absolutely crucial: playful and deliberately constrained. This quote from a study participant named Greta just nails the playful part. See, it's not just about toughing it out for a night. It's about inventing these fun new challenges for yourself. Trying to make a 3-course meal on a mountainside, that just adds this awesome, creative, game-like feeling to the whole thing. And here we get to that idea of being deliberately constrained. Another participant, Carlos, put it like it's a puzzle. How can you be the most prepared with the least? This isn't about being forced into a tough situation. It's about choosing to limit your stuff to make the challenge and the feeling of success even greater. Which, of course, brings up a much bigger question. Why does solving this kind of self-made puzzle feel so good, so satisfying? Well, to figure that out, we have to turn away from the modern world for a minute and look way, way back into our evolutionary past. The answer is pretty wild when you think about it. Our brains evolved to solve a completely different set of problems than the ones we face today. For literally hundreds of thousands of years, our main job was just survival in a world that was scarce and totally unpredictable. Evolutionary psychology gives us a really powerful tool for understanding this. It's called life history theory. Now I know, that sounds super academic, but stick with me, because at its heart, it's really simple. It's just about how all living things, including you and me, have to make trade-offs. Think of it like a budget for your own personal energy. Do you spend it on growing bigger now, or do you save it for having kids later? The theory says that the right answer depends completely on the environment you're in. And this leads to 2 basic strategies. If you're in a harsh, unpredictable world, a fast strategy usually wins. Think high risk, quick return. But if you're in a stable, predictable place, a slow strategy is a better bet. Think long-term, steady growth. Our human brains were forged in a world that demanded we be flexible problem solvers to deal with all that constant unpredictability. So here's the key takeaway. Even though a lot of us now live in a world with more stability and stuff than ever before, we're still running on that ancient operating system. Our brains are hardwired to figure out uncertainty and overcome challenges to get what we need. And this is where everything starts to click. So many of our modern lives just don't give us the kinds of raw, basic challenges our brains evolved to solve. So we create them ourselves. Microadventures, with all their self-imposed limits on gear and comfort and time, they create a perfect low-stakes version of an ancient survival problem. By creating this deliberate constraint, we're actually satisfying our brain's ancient, hardwired need to deal with an unpredictable environment. So packing the lightest bag possible or making that fancy meal on a mountainside, it's not just for fun. It's scratching a deep, deep evolutionary itch. And it turns out people scratch this itch in different ways. The research actually found 3 main types of microadventurers. First, you've got the sufferers. These are the folks who go looking for what's called type 2 fun. You know, the kind of fun that's actually pretty miserable while it's happening, but feels amazing to look back on. Then there are the skill builders, who use these trips to practice and get better at what they do. And finally, you have the mature. These are experienced adventurers who use micro-adventures to keep that spirit going while juggling family and careers. But here's the thing. That fundamental drive to overcome a challenge and control our environment, well, it doesn't always get channeled into something as positive as a weekend hike. It actually points to a core tension in human nature, our need to get along with each other versus our deep desire to get ahead. This is where a concept called resource control theory comes into play, and it suggests that this very same evolutionary drive can pop up in some pretty antisocial ways. Because when the main goal is to control resources, whether we're talking about food or social status or mates, not everybody is going to play nice. You really see three main strategies. You've got pro-social controllers who cooperate and are friendly. Then you have coercive controllers who use aggression and, no surprise, are often disliked. And then there are the bi-strategic controllers. These people are socially savvy, but they aren't afraid to use coercion to get what they want. So from this evolutionary point of view, bullying isn't just bad behavior, it can actually be a pretty effective, if ugly, strategy for getting ahead. This just goes to show how deep and powerful this drive really is. So the question for all of us then is, how do we channel it in a good way? How do we satisfy that inner explorer in a way that's healthy for us and for the people around us? And that, of course, brings us full circle, right back to the micro-adventure. It's a positive, constructive outlet for this drive. It lets us fire up that ancient, problem-solving part of our brain, our need to get ahead and master our surroundings, but without having to resort to hurting others. It's a game we play against ourselves in the wild, and when we win, the feeling of fulfillment is just immense. You know, maybe one of the people in the study, Bill, said it best. He said adventure drowns the humdrum of life. It's like a reset button. It just quiets all the noise of our complicated modern world and lets us focus on simple, essential problems, which is exactly what our brains were built to do. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. You don't need a plane ticket or a month off of work to feel this. That drive for a challenge is already inside you. It's a blueprint that's been passed down for thousands and thousands of years. So the only real question is, what small challenge can you create for yourself this week to answer your own call of the wild? Thanks for tuning in.